said that today's little chat here is going to be how to cheat Thanksgiving. And I just I wanted to put that out there because especially if you hang around a lot of us like Substack newsletter people or um, consider yourself an intense little foodie, I still think we get overwhelmed by Thanksgiving, and I still think it's way too easy for us. By us, I mean me. I mean everybody to go a little overboard, and I don't think it's necessary. Part of it is my own upbringing. I grew up with a mother who learned to cook in the 50s and 60s. So for her, that it was all about like frozen green beans, canned things. And I'm not saying those are good things. In fact, look what I do. For a living, in fact, I try to stay away from those things. But I watched my mother put together a Thanksgiving meal with little to no uh, heartache, which if any of my brothers are watching, they'd be saying that's not true. But I would get up early in the morning with my mother and we would, because she would get a bird that was about, you can't see it on screen because it was that big, right? Because just in case, you couldn't just get, like, I buy now these beautiful little birds that are like 12 to 13 pounds because I'm not feeding as many people. And I think of my mother getting up so early in the morning, still in her nightgown, which must have smelled like turkey for weeks. I mean, she washed it, don't worry. But, and hauling this big beast into the oven and then having to cook and cook and cook. So one of the things I've strived to do as a cook type person is to make it all a lot easier for everyone. Just a few notes as we go into this morning. If you have any questions, I have my AV guy over here, also known as Mark, my husband, who truly was on the AV squad growing up. And that just say something about our nerdalicious marriage, right, sweetie? Yeah, he's smiling. Anyway, he's there to take your questions and we'll put them in front of my face because unfortunately Substack does not let me see these things while I am talking and moving around and using my hands a lot. Um, so two things. Let's just get this off the bat, okay? Thanksgiving to me is two things. There are two things to remember, okay? The first thing is a quote from my mother. It's only a meal. It is. It may be the most important meal where you get your whole family together and you want everything to be perfect. Let's all just take it down a notch. It's food. We're there to enjoy it. If everything is a big fat mess and things burn and whatever, it just becomes a great story. Okay? Enough said. You don't owe anything to anyone. The one thing you owe is to yourself to make yourself reasonably happy as you can be on Thanksgiving, and to enjoy yourself a little bit. I think too much of Thanksgiving, from my point of view, is like, oh, God, run! I got this. This has to be right. Oh my God, the napkins don't match, or whatever sort of stupidity being raised in the era of Martha Stewart has placed upon me, or I have placed upon myself. Got to give it up. It's not important. It's what's more important. And I say this to people also who are like fret over like their wedding plans and stuff. You know what? If the caterer doesn't show up or something doesn't happen, you can order pizza. And the same thing happens is if the turkey doesn't cook in time or whatever, you're going to have a lot of delicious food on the table no matter what. So that's number one. It's only a meal. Let's say that. And breathe deeply. Also, breathing is really key. The other thing is butter. Butter is the key to Thanksgiving. Here we go. I have it here. I've been buying it in bulk from our friend Kirkland, Costco. I'm going to do a post, I think, probably within the next 2 weeks about why you should do all your cookie baking shopping at Costco to save money this year. I went all around Costco last week taking photographs of all the things that you need to buy to make things streamlined and less expensive, with a brief tour of duty to Trader Joe's. And those of us who live near me, some of you know who I'm talking about, like Marie Fromage. I went to Trader Joe's on a Friday at lunchtime, and I'll never do that again. Okay, anyway, let's start with the recipe I'm making. Yes, Kathy J says olive oil. I also use a lot of olive oil, but butter's gonna be key for a lot of the other stuff. So today I'm gonna make garlic bread stuffing, which is a new stuffing that, is purely because I wanted it. And I think my daughter will love it, and I don't know who else will. Mark, did you like it? He's tried about 4 different versions of it that I've been testing, and it's delicious, and we've been eating a lot of stuffing, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, but I love garlic bread. It's my favorite food, right? That's my desert island food because 'cause it's got carbs and garlic and butter, and that's a great thing. You can, of course, substitute olive oil for part of the butter in this dish. No harm, no foul. That's how I actually make garlic bread is I will, if I'm making just plain old garlic bread, I'll whip together soft butter and olive oil and garlic and spread that on the bread. But today I'm just going all butter all the time. So let's start and make that. And while I'm doing some of that, I'm going to talk to you about some of the tips if I can manage to do that all at the same time. Leave butter here because I'm just going to turn around to the stove. See, I don't have an induction cooktop to show you right in front of me like all the fancy people do. Maybe I'll ask Santa for one for Christmas. But in the meantime, I'm just going to go over here. I've got butter that's already melted in the pan. And this starts my lecture on, I'm a professor, I lecture, on doing things ahead of time. Here I have loads of chopped garlic. Not as much as I used to have because I've been testing this recipe. And here's my shortcut. I will go to a place, sometimes I go to some of like the local Korean grocery store, H Mart, or even at my local ShopRite, and they have uh, peeled garlic. That's just garlic. Like the stuff at my ShopRite is only garlic, shrink wrapped, has a short sell by date, but I took that, cut it open, whizzed it around in my Cuisinart, and I have loads and loads of garlic, so I can use it handily. I will only keep it in the fridge for a day or two because I don't want it to form grotesque things. I put a little salt in it while I am whizzing it around to help mash it a little bit. But right now, I'm just going to put a big, I've got the measurements in my recipe that I'll post later. So right now, it's just fry. And this is the vegetarian version. Do you like to buy back? Are you good? Mark, what can they see? And here we have some chopped mushrooms. And I promise I won't stand this stove for a long time. Nothing is going in here to get brown. Nothing. I've got chopped mushrooms that I'm going to use for their sponge-like ability to absorb flavor. And so I'm mixing them around. I'm not really browned. I'm not browning them at all. The heat is super low. The garlic is just barely softened. You don't want to run the risk of burning it at all. And then I'm going to take it off the heat. And then I'm going to put it over here. Anybody have any questions while I'm doing this? So here we go. Oh, the smell is so good. Can you see the large amount of garlic in here? Yeah, it's pretty good. How does it smell, Mark? Mark doesn't know that you only need sound on this. He gave 2 thumbs up. It's a great smell, obviously. While this is doing this, I'm going to also, I have all my bread because it is a bread stuffing. I have bought bread at the grocery store, nice bread. I've tried it with sourdough. I dislike sourdough, but I also, so I'm using just what we would call, why do they call it peasant bread? Everybody ate this bread. But since I'm a peasant, I cut up some peasant bread. And I cubed it up and I put it in the oven at about 250 degrees for about an hour, about 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes. Because I used convection to help dry it out faster because I have a convection oven. Sometimes I use convection, sometimes not. But here, convection, dried it out super quick, super crunchy. You know what else you could use? Pepperidge Farm stuffing without any seasoning. If you don't want to do the hassle. Nobody needs to know. Okay? Nobody. And also, you're going to have so many other flavors in this. Maybe it doesn't matter. Anyway, I put in about 8 cups of bread. It's not a great noise. A bread. Oh, nice bread. And of course, you can measure this out or you can eyeball it too. A lot of, I think, stuffing should be done with eyeballing. I will give you guideline measurements, but you also have to choose what flavors your family likes. So I'm going to moisten all the bread and fling some onto the counter because that's the best place for it, because that means later I can eat it. Um, because I wanted to do a real sort of, I had a long talk with my brother David, who some of you may or may not know, about garlic bread stuffing. We talked about it in the same way that we might talk about like the Epstein files, intensely and with a lot of interest. Um, but, you know, there's got to be balance in life. So we talked about garlic bread stuffing a lot, and we decided that it needed to be real, pure, like deconstructed garlic bread in stuffing form. So I'm adding oregano. And yes, measurements, but right now we're not really measuring. And I'm going to add I'm gonna add some okay, thanks, Mark. I got those. Gonna add some parsley. And this is one of those tips, and maybe you know this all, and I'm teaching you all how to suck eggs. But doing as much as you can in advance. I know people constantly say that, but it's really true. Like all this bread I did in advance and I stored in a, a tightly sealed container and it keeps for like 5 days. You can be making this over the weekend. So if you have to go to work on Monday or Tuesday or whatever, you can have this done. This bread is dry. It's not going anywhere. And the other thing is, let me just show this to you here. Or I'll unwrap it under here. I have, and this super cute tea towel I washed and spun dry my parsley and wrapped it in a paper towel. And then I folded up like a little baby and I put it in the refrigerator. And I do that with all my herbs, all my lettuces, all the things that I want that are like the leafy greens. And I store them in the crisper in my fridge and it keeps them moist and crisp without getting all gross and slimy. Do that in advance. I learned to do these during COVID. And I know that you can go online now, and now that I've talked about it, you'll probably get ads for, we've created the perfect zipper bag for your greens. So you could just use a tea towel, my friends. You could just use a tea towel. So we're going to add parsley. You can add more parsley, less parsley. I like to put some parsley fresh on the top. I'm also adding, and this was my brother David's idea, so you don't have to do it. I mean, it's just his idea, was to add some, grotesque looking at this point, but some sliced sun-dried tomatoes that have been soaked in oil. I bought these at Trader Joe's. They were ready-made, right? Here we go. Trader Joe's sun-dried tomatoes. Drained them so you're not getting all its oil. You don't want that oil to overpower your stuffing. We like to use what's known as some salt. Not too much because we're going to be adding chicken stock, and the chicken stock has salt. I like this. And I haven't added it right here, a few red pepper flakes to kind of perk things up. Maybe that's not your thing. If that's not your thing, this may not be, I was talking to someone yesterday who said that their idea of the perfect Thanksgiving meal is to have it basically as bland as possible. And I thought, oh, because I had him taste this and he's like, it's delicious, but we would just never use that because it's way too flavorful, which struck me as interesting. But they're nice people if they're watching. The other thing I add is my other favorite food, Parmesan. So this is beautiful grated Parmesan. And it's like snow. Look at that. I'll be quiet. It's like a lovely snowfall. And so I'm pouring in some cheese here. And I'm going to mix it all about. It's really mindlessly simple, you see? And at this point, you could, I'm going to pour it straight into the dish. So people asked some questions out there. One of the questions was, did I use the crusts? And the answer is yes and no. I didn't use all the crust because I had one of those big peasant loaves and it had a super thick crust, and I didn't want that sort of chewiness that happens. Um, so I kind of shaved some of the crust off. But then I also do like some crust in there because it gets all toasty and delicious. I really wish you could smell this. Anyway, look at that. I'm going to pour it now into my favorite baking dish that I have in my house, which is this one. It's from IKEA. It is giant. It's like a giant pie pan. I like miniature things and I like giant things that, um, just things that are a little absurd. This pan has been buttered. Oh, it smells so good. The mix of parsley, garlic, oregano, all so good. I've used Italian parsley in here. And uh, I think it could use with some more sun-dried tomatoes, but in the interest of TV, I add them right now. But what am I going to add? Okay, here's the other thing. I've tried this recipe a number of different ways, and a lot of recipes for dressing, as opposed to stuffing, which apparently goes in the bird. I don't care what you call it, dressing, stuffing. Um, a lot of them call for a mixture of egg and chicken stock or vegetable stock if you're going vegetarian, and to pour over it. I am not an egg person. I do not like eggs. I do not like the sort of cheese strata, breakfast strata that comes with that egginess. So I just use, I bought bone broth. If you have the chance and you're that kind of person, golly, oh gosh, you should make your own. But maybe in the case of chicken stock, you don't need to do that because your time is precious. And the pure flavor is not what you need here. Save making chicken stock for your chicken soup or your broth that you might eat with like udon or something. Anyway, I'm going to eyeball this. I give measurements, but for now I'm going to eyeball it. And really, the whole point of this is to moisten it. And I'll moisten it now so it just sort of soaks in. And I'll tamp it down a little bit with my trusty, delicious spoon here so it can start absorbing it. And then I put more cheese on top. What kind of question is that? Of course, I'm putting more cheese on top. Then I'll tent it. I'll put it in the fridge for now, and I'll bake it off later. I might even, wait, get this, freeze this. Yeah, so that I can pull it out on the day and bake it from frozen. Make sure, obviously, you use a pan that can go from the freezer to the oven without it cracking everywhere. What will I do before I put it in the freezer? I'm going to pour more chicken stock over it. You know what else you could pour over it? A little vermouth, little Madeira, maybe a little sherry if you're a little crazy. I think Madeira would work really nicely, or Marsala a little bit. Don't go crazy. We're not going to turn this into like a booze fest, but a little bit of Marsala wine or a little bit of white wine would boost the flavor a little bit. Then you have like, I don't know, stuffing scampi. Except, of course, we know that's not what scampi means. Okay, anyway, this is it. Does anybody have any questions about it out there? Anybody have any questions? Questions? Here's some questions, okay? My peasant bread, my present bread, my present peasant bread, I bought it at the ShopRite. It's a big, round, like bowl or ball of bread, a big thing. I'm going to put this over here. And spun-dried parsley just means that I washed the parsley in my salad spinner and then made sure that it was dry before I put it in the fridge because you don't want it to go in too wet. A little bit of moisture, yes, but not too wet. Before we move on, I'm going to clean this up a little bit. And I'll give you a little taste of, look at that. I made a big pie yesterday, a big apple pie with crumble. And I realized that like one of my favorite foods in the world really is streusel topping. It's probably just being from New Jersey. the home of the streusel coffee cake. And so I took leftover bits of pie, cut them into circles, put a little strawberry jam on top, and then put some streusel on it, and, and baked them. They're really pretty good. Though I may work on using a shortbread crust instead, but in the meantime, this is what I'm trying. What do you think? Yeah, let me know. I'm gonna leave these here. You can stare at them. Don't they look good? I think Mark would agree that they are good. Is that true? Yes, he's nodding. Everyone, he's nodding. Um, it's just normally I would like cut up leftover pie crust, which is kind of my favorite part of pie, and sprinkle it with cinnamon sugar or wrap it up with a little bit of Nutella and make a little sandwiches with it, and then basically eat those instead of anything else. But I wanted to go a little different this year, and so if you go in my refrigerator right now, would be weird because I don't know why you're in my house, but if you did go in my refrigerator right now, you'd see a giant pot of streusel that I can just play with. I think it's a great thing to have in the house, especially this time of year. Do I freeze it? Mary asks if I freeze it in the baking dish, and I do freeze it in the baking dish. Just be careful, like I said, that the dish can go from the freezer straight to the oven because you don't want it defrosting in the middle. You don't want it to like take it from the freezer and then put it in the fridge and then put it in the oven because it's going to get kind of soggy and murky. Can I just see that for 1 second, Mark? Mark writes down the questions because he's that good. Southerners make dressing from cornbread, and I am open-minded, which is why I am here. Thank you, Sam and Charlie. I appreciate you being open-minded. That's what this country needs more of. I personally really, really am a big fan of cornbread dressing, and I've made it for years and years, making the cornbread, and I like it with sausage and onions. You'll notice that there are no onions in this, and there are no celery because they don't belong in my stuffing, especially if it's garlic bread stuffing. I know there are a lot of very pro-celery people out there, and I like you for that. I really do. I don't need that in my stuffing. But you do you, because that's America, apparently. The other thing that I did test was also my brother David's idea because he said it's not stuffing if it doesn't have sausage in it. And so I made a batch, and this is how I'll make it for Thanksgiving, with half sweet Italian sausage and half spicy Italian sausage. And that's also something you can, if you want to assemble your stuffing on the morning of or the night before, there are all the components that you can make in advance, like cook off the sausage, to peel the skin off the sausage, something I will not demonstrate on camera because it truly is disgusting because you end up with like a little piece of like the cover of the intestine sort of part of the sausage. I make it look good when I say that, don't I? Anyway, crumble that up, cook it off until it's cooked. You don't want it half raw. You want it to be cooked. And like the sun-dried tomatoes, let it drain on paper towels. We're trying to keep, oddly enough, the fat levels sort of balanced. We don't want to all like have a gallbladder attack from Thanksgiving, even if I do say that butter is king. Olive oil can be king too. And this is your other friend on Thanksgiving. Chicken stock or vegetable stock can hide a multitude of sins and can make things taste much better than they might otherwise. Like maybe you bought frozen string beans, or maybe you don't want to make a big fuss with your string beans, but you want them to taste a little bit nicer. Steam them briefly, saute them, or just saute them quickly in a little bit of like onion, saute a little bit of onion and olive oil, put your string beans on top, put a little chicken stock on it, one little knob of butter, just to kind of help emulsify the sauce a little bit. And if you wanted to, you can add a little cheese, you can add some pepper, you can add some pepper flakes, shake it all about when the green beans are steamy, and let the stock evaporate a little bit and let it get glossy, and coat the green beans, and ta-da! It's green beans, and it's really easy, and it takes about 5 minutes maximum. The only part that might take some time, the time that takes longer, is the green bean part. So maybe buy them already topped and tailed. Maybe get some nice member of your family to do this for you while you're watching the Macy's parade, which is also, I think, very important to the whole Thanksgiving experience. For me, I love the Macy's parade. Um, what would be the best crust for a butternut pie? Ooh, you make a butternut pie? Um, I guess my question is it a savory or a sweet butternut pie? And really, no matter what, a basic, I would use an all butter crust for it. I'll post a recipe for it. If you search on my Substack, I have about 2 or 3 different recipes for pie crust, including one that I made with Molly Katzen long ago, not long ago, a couple of years ago. Kate McDermott's in the house. What? Well, go to Kate McDermott's site. She is the queen of pie. Kate and I got together a few weeks ago, and she is all over Substack right now telling people to not be afraid of pie. And that is because she is the queen of pie. And I think Kate McDermott would probably encourage an all butter pie crust with a butternut pie. Is that true, Kate McDermott? Yes? Excuse me, all. I'm going to have some coffee. Let's all pause and drink a toast to Kate McDermott and pie. Um, okay, so Kathy J, I'd love to know a little. Oh, pie crust scare you? Oh, Kathy J, pie crust shouldn't scare you. And I'll also put a link in my Substack, or if you go into my Substack from 2 weeks ago, there is a post that Kate McDermott and I did about how not to be afraid of pie crust. I've also done one with Molly Katzen about how not to be afraid of pie crust. And the basics are you're really, really not going to go wrong. And even if the whole pie crust crumbles and falls apart, you can press it into the pan. Nobody's going to know the difference. Do yourself a favor, get yourself a glass, a Pyrex pie pan, and that way you can see if the crust is cooking nicely on the bottom, and it will also cook more evenly, and you'll get a nice crisp crust. It's no worry. That's it. Kate McDermott said it. Keep everything chilled, especially yourself. Absolutely. One of the other things I talk about is I think people get confused when they're whizzing up I make it also in a Cuisinart. I'm looking over at my Cuisinart to make sure it hasn't run away. I make mine in my Cuisinart mixer because it is means I don't touch things as much with my warm. My dog bit me while playing. I cleaned it. Don't worry, everybody. I mix it all in my Cuisinart to keep things cool. Like me, baby. The key with that, or the other great thing is a pastry blender, which is worth the $8.99 if you buy it at the ShopRite or your grocery store near you. It's worth it. It's almost worth it to buy the $19.99 one from Williams-Sonoma, although I'm not always keen to send people to Williams-Sonoma, but because things tend to be very expensive. But in this case, it's a worthwhile investment to blend the cold butter into which you should cut into pieces before you put it in the flour. Toss it in the flour. And then break it down into pieces that are pea-sized and little rice-sized and a mixture of butter sizes. And then toss it with the cold water, not too much water. That's in a nutshell. Okay? Ooh, and par bake. Kate McDermott says par bake. Par baking is useful. Freeze the flour too. Oh my goodness. Chill with a glass of wine. Also good. Very good. Um, there are a lot of different pain points, I think, that come with Thanksgiving. Um, and with a little bit of planning, I know, uh, things will be much easier. The first thing, I'm going to skip right to Thanksgiving Day. And the thing I always do is to create a countdown for my Thanksgiving. And I've sort of roughly show it to you here. Um, Thanksgiving, my nice pen, and at the bottom here is the time I wanna serve dinner, like 4 o'clock, right? You can't really see that, but just know that's a dinner. I wanna serve it at 4 o'clock so everyone has some time to digest and time to go home so I can go to sleep. Oh, you know what I mean. So 4 o'clock dinner. An hour before that, I want the turkey to come out of the oven so that it can rest and I have time to cook it. So starting here, this is what I need to go back from. So if my turkey weighs X number of pounds and I know it has to cook for 20 minutes per pound, if you're cooking it as a whole bird, or less if you're spatchcocking it, which I really, really believe in, um, okay, then maybe it needs to go in the oven at 1 o'clock. I don't know. I'm making this up right now. Turkey in. And so then turkey out. And you need to carve the turkey. Who's going to carve the turkey? Is it going to be you? Is it going to be somebody else? Did someone, and as you're doing this, you start to remind yourself of little things that you need to do, like sharpen your knives. It's going to make your lives a lot easier. Can you take your knives that you're going to be using to your local hardware store or wherever you can get knives sharpened if you don't do it at home and get them done now? Because a sharp knife is going to make everything easier, down to chopping your onions. You know that feeling when your knives aren't too sharp, or maybe you don't even have sharp knives, and you use your knife, cut into that onion, and there's resistance. There shouldn't be resistance when you're cutting an onion. If there is, it means that your knives are not sharp enough. And it's going to make your whole job, all your jobs, much harder if your knives aren't sharp. So consider sharpening your knives out of here. So we have the turkey in when the turkey's coming out, and over here in this, over here, along with my little notes, I'm going to write. Oh, my dog is now choking on the cat food he tried to eat, which I think is a lesson. Hopefully, he'll take in. Um, he gets very tall all of a sudden and peers into the cat bowls. He actually tried to climb onto the piano to get into the cat bowls. Never mind. He's 70-pound dog, people. That's not an insignificant amount to put on to jump on the piano. He's a puppy. Okay. Over here, I'll write a list of all the different dishes that I want to have. And I'll use that as my reminder as to when they should go in. This key period here between 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock is when I'm going to start popping in all my side dishes and start cooking some things on the stove. I tend to be a person who makes the gravy last minute, but I don't think that's smart. You should make it in advance and refrigerate it. Think about Susan Spungen, who worked for Martha Stewart for a million trillion years and really is I think the brains behind all the recipes you see at a place like Martha Stewart, has a wonderful Substack. And while I do not want to drive you away from me, I would like you to check out her Substack. Because she has a great recipe for a make-ahead mushroom gravy, and also a really good recipe that takes the Thanksgiving turkey, cuts it into parts, which you're going to have your butcher do, or when I say butcher, I realize 4 of us have butchers anymore. The butchers who are union butchers at your ShopRite or your local supermarket. I don't. ShopRite is local to New Jersey. I have no idea why I keep talking about ShopRite. It's sort of my generic term for supermarket, so forgive me. You can ask them to cut it up for you. She has a recipe that is basically like a slow-cooked turkey pieces. And I think if you're anti-turkey, this may put you pro-turkey. Your co-op has a butcher. Yeah, exactly. They're all most supermarkets have butchers who are professionally trained, unionized butchers. So good for them. Oh, look, now you can read it. Really. Um, anyway, all your sides go here, and then you start wondering when you should. Most sides should only take like things that you have made in advance or that need to be reheated in the oven. Will take 45 minutes to an hour to reheat. I tend to tent all the things that go in my refrigerator that I've made that go in my oven to keep them moist, and then take it off at the end. This is how it works with my stuffing. I realized I didn't tell you that. I put it into the oven for about 30 minutes, covered with aluminum foil, being careful so it doesn't, the dog is smelling my leg, so that the cheese doesn't stick to the aluminum foil. And then about 10, 15 minutes, for about 10 or 15 minutes. So it cooks in total 45 minutes. I take it off, and the top gets all crusty and brown, and the cheese gets gooey on top. It's not a lot of cheese. You're not making a gratin. This is my dog. Can you see Norman? Yeah? Okay, there's Norman. Norman, you want some cheese? And no one can you see Norman? No, do you want cheese? Just up here. Oh, yeah? What? I just rained cheese on him. Another make ahead thing that I think a lot of people have mashed potatoes for Thanksgiving. And this is my big old tip for mashed potatoes. You have two options. One is to take the option that my mother used, which was a recipe that she found. I mean, she must have been, I guess, in her early 80s when she discovered this recipe. It may have come out then. The New York Times makes a mashed potato casserole. It was brilliant. It is brilliant. I don't use the recipe anymore. You can go, I'll find the recipe and I'll put a link to it. You can use it as a guideline. Basically, what happens is you make the potatoes, you add a little bit extra moisture to it using our friend sour cream, which you often use in mashed potatoes anyway. You butter casserole dish, you layer it in there, you sprinkle some cheese on top where you, oh, hello. This is Norman. Norman, this is my cheese. Hello, Norman. Can everyone see Norman here? Oh, there he is. Yep. I would like some cheese, please. Get down. Here's some more cheese, Norm. Anyway, she would make that. I make that. I often make that casserole in advance. I mean, it's not a casserole. It's mashed potatoes, and put it in the fridge. Take it out in that little bit of an hour there. Dot it with some butter. Cook it in the oven. That way I'm not mashing potatoes and creating havoc in my kitchen when there's already enough havoc with all the humans in my kitchen and dogs and cats and other mayhem that comes with Thanksgiving. The other thing that I do is an old catering trick, which is to mash the potatoes. I'll do it up to about 2 hours in advance. Mash the potatoes and then put them in a bowl, a heat-proof bowl, cover them with aluminum foil tightly, and then put them over a bain-marie, a double boiler, and let them stay warm that way. I put a big plop of butter on the top, so that's sort of melting over the top, and it keeps the mashed potatoes warm because for a good solid 2 hours. What I would recommend is that you just make sure that you check the water in the bottom of the pot. Is that clear? Okay. If it isn't, please let me know. Oh, someone wanted to know about Susan Spungen. Her name is spelled Spungen, Susan Spungen, and she is on Substack now. All right. Other pain points. I think we really need to be honest with ourselves and realize our limitations. And by that, I mean that in the nicest possible way, not the way my chemistry teacher said it to me in 11th grade when she thought that maybe chemistry was my limitation. She is another story for another time. I did okay with chemistry in the future, so whatever. We don't have to do it all, right? I think some of us get a cheap thrill out of doing it all, but I don't think we need to. I think you can buy a pre-made crust, or make it in advance and not make it fresh on the day. That's all overrated. You can buy ready peeled. I mean, if you're pearl onion people, it breaks my heart to see people buying and peeling pearl onions. They're frozen. You could get them in the freezer. Do that. You know what else my mother would say? They're fantastic. And this does go against most of what I think, but hey, do what you got to do. There's fantastic frozen mixed vegetables out there. Um, I was at Whole Foods, a place I don't actually like to go, but because the prices are nuts and it all feels a bit too Jeff Bezos-y for me. But I went there and they had a beautiful selection of what they called European vegetables, which weren't really European, but vegetables in a butter basil sauce. It was really pretty good. Why not do that? The other thing is, and this is as your therapist and my own, sometimes we make things for Thanksgiving, and I don't know if this is true for you, and please let me know if there is. We make things that we don't necessarily like, but we make them because of tradition. I know that in the years after, like the few years after my mother died, I made her mashed sweet potato casserole. The dog wants some. I made her the mashed sweet potato casserole and with orange in it, and it would have little clementines on the top. And I did it because my mother did that, and I loved it, and it was a great memory to have at the table. And I always made a big like casserole vat of it, and I was the only person who made it. So I've stopped making it for Thanksgiving, and I think and my mother would be the first person to look down from heaven or wherever people go, look down and go, "It's okay. Don't stress yourself out." Um, do you stress yourself out on Thanksgiving? That's my question. Am I overblowing this? Are there people out there who just love the chaos and the noise and the whatever? Personally, I love the chaos and the noise. Me. But I know that for a lot of people, um, it's just too much. Are you one of those people? Please let me know. Um, if you are a person for whom the chaos is too much and you want to learn to, want to know what you can do, um, give me a thumbs up in the messages. You don't have to type anything. Because the thing that I think we forget is that a happy cook means happy guests. And I personally want you to be happy. If I could set up a Butterball turkey hotline on should I do that on Thanksgiving? Like how Butterball has their like turkey hotline. Oh my God, it's an emergency. I needed you to answer a question. Maybe I should do that on Substack because for Thanksgiving, because we all gotta stick it out together. The other thing I think is really doesn't get enough attention is making everybody do something. Give everyone a job, from the littlest people to the biggest people. The people who get to sit out, in my case, are the oldest people who have been doing Thanksgiving for years, and they should maybe just sit quietly and run the operation from their chair with a nice glass of sherry or whatever it is. But otherwise, everyone can do something. And I think that's really, really important. And you know what you can be? Bossy, politely bossy, or snarkily bossy, like I prefer. Um, but you can do it. Please. I think that's really important. Um, do as much as you can ahead of time. I know it sounds stupid. Make a big list the minute we get off this phone and off this Substack, and make your menu, stick with your menu, and figure out all the things you need to buy and buy them in advance. My dog found a piece, the aluminum foil pan that on the floor that one of my plants is sitting in, and has decided that it would be fun to chew off. That's the sound you're hearing. Do you need to, and look at that menu and ask yourself, do you need to make all those dishes? Are there dishes you can farm out to people that maybe you've never farmed out to people before? And maybe they won't make it just the way you want it. But you know what? Doesn't matter. It's only a meal. Say that with me. It's only a meal. And in the end, the company is more worth it, right? The companionship. Oh, maybe it isn't. Maybe you don't want to talk to the people and you're worried what they're going to say about the Epstein files, or you're worried what they're going to say about, oh, so many things, and you want to keep the conversation happy. This is my idea for this year. Yeah, Kathy G, I think people do want to help and contribute. And the people who don't, let's just pause and think about them for a moment, shall we? Maybe they can bring a bottle of wine, right? Anyway, uh, everyone should bring something. Everyone should do something. That's really, really key. Uh, anyway, my approach to Thanksgiving this year is taking a page out of my new favorite, although it's old, podcast called Wild Card, which is an NPR podcast. And on it, the host interviews very well-known people, and the entire conversation is um, they have the entire conversation by drawing cards and asking questions. And I think it's worth it to listen to an episode of or two of this podcast and get some ideas for questions. And maybe the littlest kids at the table can come up with the questions and write them down on little cards, and people can randomly draw one and only let the conversation revolve around those questions, or maybe keep it handy in case things get a bit dark or unpleasant at the table. Um, I'll also include a link to that podcast in my Substack. Okay, we should be wrapping up pretty soon because I know you all have a lot of things to do. Let me give you a few turkey tips. Okay. First things first, I do not believe in brining a turkey in a big sploshy container of water. I don't believe the water will ever be cold enough. It makes me really nervous. Okay. And I know all about the health and safety of food. It makes me nervous. So what I will ask you to do is not that. Dry brining a turkey is a great way to go. Dry brine it if you have the space in your refrigerator and put it in there. Uncovered so you're rubbing the carcass and under the skin, and then the skin in a salty, herby mixture, and leave it open, uncovered in your fridge to help the skin dry out a little bit. That's a great thing to do. It's also really disgusting, and my family hates seeing a raw bird in their fridge. So hopefully, there's nothing I can do about that. But what you can do is also really save some time for yourself and buy a kosher bird. They are pre-brined. No one knows. No one cares if they're kosher or not, but they're pre-salted. So they're going to stay juicy. Maybe have cut up your bird. Have your bird cut up, like I said before. Maybe only buy turkey breasts. Buy 2 turkey breasts and cook those. You can also choose to spatchcock your bird, which is sort of fancy, where you cut the spine out, you break the sternum of the thing, and it lays flat. It is my favorite way to, yeah, it's my favorite way to cook turkey, and I'll give you some, Norman. It cooks in about an hour, maybe a little bit more, depending on the size of the bird. It is delicious. Everything cooks beautifully, and I like it a lot. What else can we do? Not have turkey? Who here doesn't want to have turkey? Somebody wrote in when I put out the Substack and said, we have steak and potatoes. Sounds great. A lot of people don't like turkey, but turkey was Ben Franklin's choice. Doesn't necessarily have to be our choice. So if that's not your thing, break out, man. Do something different. Make a lasagna. Make a porchetta like other people are doing. Enjoy yourself. It's supposed to be about what makes you all happy. Yeah, I know, right? Make yourself happy. I really want that to happen. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the other things that we can do. I'm looking at my notes, and one of my notes is happy cook equals happy guests. Starters. I don't think people need to eat that much, but I don't know how your day goes, right? Like maybe people show up around noon and they're hanging out and they need things. I believe in the uh, charcuterie board. I do not believe in if there's someone in your family who wants to make one of those gorgeous charcuterie boards, did you see me spread out all the things there? Gorgeous charcuterie board with sliced cheese and grapes and beautiful things. Great. If not, put some cheese on a board and some crackers, and I think people will be just fine. The other thing is, our friend Costco, I know I'm not a paid shill, I swear. Our friend at Costco make really great um, appetizers. Giant things of spanakopita, the Greek cheese and spinach phyllo. Beautiful crab cakes from Phillips. They're the big crab cake makers. They make little miniature ones. They had at a great price. They had little pigs in blanket, which is has to happen at every family gathering at my house. We have to have pigs in a blanket. They have bagel bites. I mean, you can get really good starters. And those can go in the oven or the toaster oven. Let the toaster oven be your friend. Um, and Mark is playing with the dog right now. It's a little distracting. The dog is so happy, though. Oh, yeah, she just wants to play. We should be watching that instead of me. So do that as your starter. A green egg. That's right, which has the advantage of freeing up the oven. That's true. If you would like to green egg my bird, that would be great. I need to find someone who will do that for me. It would be a great thing. Cook it on the grill if it's not going to rain outside. Little bit. If you decide to cook your bird on the grill, just bear in mind it should be on a day where there's not going to be rain. If it rains, it will lower the temperature of your grill, and your bird is going to take a much longer time to cook. So that's just something to bear in mind. It'll lower the way that the temperature of the convection that occurs inside your grill. Learned that from a friend who learned it the hard way. If your bird isn't done, you pull it out of the oven, cut it up, put it in there to roast longer. Nobody cares. And if they do care, I don't know if they should be invited back. That's really what I think. You should make sure that you have friends who go with the flow. And otherwise, I'm going to also talk a little bit about dessert, which we know is my favorite thing in the whole wide world. I love dessert. I talk about dessert. I write about dessert. Maybe dessert is not the most important thing. No, dessert's the most important thing. Come on. But maybe you saw a great pie at the store and you don't want to make a pie because that's one extra hassle. Buy it. My mother used to buy like the Sara Lee, was it Sara Lee? Pumpkin pie. Mrs. Smith's pumpkin pie. That's what I grew up on. It was just fine, my friends, just fine. On the topic of pumpkin, I am and I know some people very much disagree. I'm a big fan of canned pumpkin, which I know is butternut squash. But canned pumpkin or butternut squash, whatever it is consistent. And I've decided to spend my time in the kitchen making my own pie crust and not always just cooking down pumpkin. You don't have to be a martyr at Thanksgiving, I think is what I want to say. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You need to get together with your family and have a decent time, or as decent a time as you can have, with enough food around so that if things go a little south, if people are a little whatever, you can enjoy your food. That's really what I believe. If you want to make desserts in advance, like a pie, they freeze beautifully. Don't they, Kate McDermott? Right. I have a chocolate chip pecan bourbon pecan pie in my freezer right now. It is one of my most popular recipes. It's actually in my cookbook, which I haven't mentioned yet, The Secret Life of Chocolate Chip Cookies, which if you haven't bought 3 or 4 or 10 copies for all your friends, um, please do. But the recipe is in here. It's a wonderful chocolate chip pecan bourbon pie, though I really should say it properly, which is a pecan pie with chocolate chips and bourbon. Um, so it's truly wonderful and easy to make, and everybody who's made it, I think, is Sharon out there? I think Sharon's made it and she liked it. Um, it's a great pie, and it's in my freezer, and all I have to do is warm it up on Thanksgiving. The other thing is, um, I will make apple pie because I like it, but maybe an apple tart is easier. Maybe a galette is easier. Maybe you don't have 5 pie pans. Make it in a metal pie pan. Do what you have to do. Maybe cookies is it. I'd say cookies is it, right? Maybe you can make tea loaves of pumpkin bread and serve those nicely and some ice cream. What ice cream did I just have that was so good? Oh my God. Jenny's uh, powdered jelly donut ice cream. Oh my God, do we really need to serve anything else? What if you just bought pumpkin ice cream and made some, I don't know, chocolate chip cookies to go along with it? Simple. Also, you've eaten a giant meal. Do you really need all those things? I kind of think yes, of course. I love cheesecake, but maybe you just make little baby cheesecakes. Make things that make you happy, right? Keep some family traditions alive, but make sure you make yourself happy. Are there any questions while I'm thinking of wrapping this up right now? Because I think you probably all have to go shopping and stuff like that and eat things. Um, my scribe here is busily writing things down. Oh, here's one now. Um, Brenda Goldberg, our moms were friends, and it was wonderful to hear you mention her. Did you live next door in Berkeley Heights? Oh my God, the Goldbergs, those Goldbergs. Oh my gosh, hi. I never, I just knew your mother. She was wonderful. Is that you? Tell me. Um, Barnes and Noble was out of your cookbook. Oh, that's the nicest thing I've ever heard. Great, thanks. Please buy more. To ask your bookseller to buy more copies of this in so you can buy one. Order it from bookshop.org. One other thing that I think is a great approach to Thanksgiving dessert is to have your wealthiest friend, bring the nicest chocolates they can find and throw them out onto the table, roll out some little mandarin oranges and call it a day. I don't really mean that. I mean, throw out some cookies too and some pies. But definitely, you do not need to be a martyr. Thank you. Laura, you do not need to be a martyr. Absolutely. Isn't spatchcocking a turkey difficult? A little bit. You can ask the butcher to do it for you if you're a little worried about it, because it does involve a slippery bird. And the thing that makes it easier to do, and if you want, I can do a demonstration here, is to have a really sharp knife, rather like a santoku or a butcher's knife, a cleaver, and also to have a pair of sharp kitchen scissors, which you should all have. Ask for Santa to bring you one, or Hanukkah Harry, or just go buy them yourself. Um, and it's just a question of cutting up the spinule and opening it and then crushing it. Oh, not the same Goldbergs. Our moms met us. Okay. Where do you get a kosher turkey? You can buy a kosher turkey at almost any major supermarket. They're there. They might be in a special section. I know they are at my ShopRite, but still. That's also a good option. Yeah, my pumpkin bread with cheesecake filling. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you guys go off into the night with the encomium, which was a great word, to not be a martyr, to be in charge of the chaos so it won't feel like chaos, and to really carefully consider what recipes you want to make. Lay them out now. Make your shopping list now. Be ready. Make sure you have the cinnamon or the ginger and that you're not running off to the supermarket at the last minute or forcing your AV guy to run off to the supermarket at the last minute. He looks up at me wryly. Yes. Trader Joe's is selling kosher turkeys this year. Yes, indeed. Lots of places having them. So it's a great option. Um, one more thing. Um, I want you all to think about your recipes that you have that are family recipes. And I'm thinking of doing a workshop about this in January where we put together our family recipes and standardize the measurements and turn them into recipes, especially because if you have a lot of old recipes that you're using, um, how to standardize them to make them work for today's kitchen. Because eggs change sizes, products change over time. And wouldn't it be easier if every year you had a family cookbook that you could just turn to with your recipes in it? That were Thanksgiving recipes, Christmas recipes, holiday recipes, and also make a really, really nice present for your family. So that's something I'm going to be doing in January is coming up, doing a family recipe workshop. If that interests you, um, keep an eye out for it via my Substack. Okay. Otherwise, remember you're in charge and don't let the turkey be in charge. You're in charge. Okay. Thank you so much. I'll be putting up recipes for this, for my garlic bread stuffing, and a whole list of options that are easy that you can make for Thanksgiving dinner and dessert. All right. Look for it in my Substack. Please, if you would like to support me, that would be great by becoming a paid subscriber. You can do it with a 1 month $5 donation or a yearly donation. I'll be doing a special paid subscriber offer just before Black Friday, and it's going to be good. And it may just include a copy of my cookbook. So look out for that. Make yourself a little present of that. And I thank you so much for all your support. And we'll talk before Thanksgiving. Let me know if you want to have a turkey hotline on Thanksgiving. All right. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.